Hello and welcome, Pokemon fans. There are those who call me Bardbreaker, and it's time for another Sunday Pokemon Challenge run. Last week, we successfully beat Pokemon Crystal with just a Sneasel at the behest of a viewer request, and it was actually quite easy given the broad array of moves and decent stats at our disposal. With that being said, let's move up a generation and do a much harder one this week. Today, we ask and answer the question, can I beat Pokemon Ruby using just a single RALTS? RALTS is a first form psychic Pokemon introduced in Gen 3, and its stats are every bit as awful as you'd expect. Abysmal attack, defense, HP, I mean pretty much everything is bad here. Our special attack is our best stat and is at the extreme range of what you could even remotely consider to be passable. To put this run into perspective, our stat total of 198 is 2 points lower than Magikarp and Feebas. In fact, the only Pokemon that we have a higher stat total than are Wurmple, Weedle, Caterpie, Azurill, and Sunkern. So not exactly elite company here. At least most all of our attacks are special, but this is gonna be brutal. Speaking of moves, let's take a look. Notice any problems right out of the gate? In addition to the fact that all of our moves are psychic, and Dark is immune to psychic, and we have to deal with Dark Pokemon this run, look at what we start with. We only start with Growl. We do learn Confusion early at level 6, but we'll still have to level up once to get to it. This means that right out of the gate, we're going to have to use Struggle. Fortunately, I have a plan, and this is why we're in Ruby specifically, but more on that in a bit. We do learn some quality stab moves though. Confusion and Psychic are both great. Dream Eater is also pretty nice, but it would require us to use Hypnosis, so I really don't think we're going to use it. But we do learn Double Team early, thank God, as well as Calm Mind to boost our stats. I know a lot of you may not like Double Team Cheese, but sometimes it's all you can do to win a run. But I'll try to keep it to a minimum if I can help it. By TM, we actually have quite a few good moves available to us. Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball are both very nice, though Ghost is still physical in this generation, so Shadow Ball may not be the best for us to work with. We may actually want to take advantage of Return or Secret Power. We'll definitely be testing our Hidden Power as well, but that may not be helpful depending on what type we get. In any event, guys, I always like to remind you here at this point that I actually haven't started playing the game yet, and all of my script gets written as I go. So take your guesses down below in the comments to please the almighty algorithm, god of the YouTube algorithm, and to let me know if you think I can do this or not. I'm gonna say a hard maybe. We'll almost certainly need Double Team along the way, and we'll almost definitely have to be level 100 to even stand a chance at the Elite Four. This is gonna be rough, and we may legitimately not be able to do it. In any case, let's take a final glance at our rules. In combat, I can only use RALTS. I'll need other Pokemon for HMs, but I won't be allowed to use them in battle. I also won't be using any items in battle. Held items and items outside of battle will be allowed though. And as always, no cheats, glitches, or exploits, so let's begin. So right away to get the run started, we extricate ourselves from the back of the moving van our neglectful mother threw us into and set about finding May writing in her diary about which Jonas brother is the hottest. The correct answer being, incidentally, Nick. We find Professor Birch being assaulted by a small dog and he asks us to help. I've used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Mudkip with RALTS. This way our rival May is going to take Trico and will have the best type matchup against us for the moves that we plan to use against it. Unfortunately for us, all we know is Growl at this point, so we really can't help the Professor. But fortunately, we can just run from this encounter and it counts as saving the Professor tree here, so we find ourselves back at the lab. I nickname our RALTS Underdog, because we're a major underdog to even have a chance at this run. Our ability is Trace. It copies the abilities of all other Pokemon we encounter. That's more useful than Synchronize in my opinion, so I'll take it. Our nature is, oh god damn it, we got Impish again. That's more defense at the expense of special attack. God damn it, special attack was the one stat that we actually couldn't afford to lose any points in. Now I could just reset, but I vowed not to do that for natures or genders or IVs, so we'll just have to make do with what we get. Maybe I can load up on some vitamins and bump up our special attack that way. We head north of Old Dale Town to find May. We can't win this fight yet since all we know is Growl, so we go ahead and let ourselves lose the fight. After which I discover I actually have to win this fight to progress. Well shit. Guess we're gonna have to do Struggle earlier than I imagined. I knew Struggle was coming, but I didn't expect to have to do it quite this early. I actually have a plan for why I chose Ruby specifically, but I can't access it just yet. In order to use Struggle, we have to burn down all 40 of our power points. We can't get to my safe method for it yet, so we have to be careful and burn down Growls on Zigzagoon and Wurmples, healing every couple of battles with potions from the Pokemart. If we use the Pokemon Center in town, it restores our power points and we've just wasted time. Finally, we burn down all 40 Growls and it's time to take on May. This opening fight actually legitimately takes 12 attempts once I actually realized we had to win it to proceed. So 13 attempts altogether. We actually nearly won on the second struggle attempt, but of course Trico got a critical hit and took us down. We have to just keep making attempt after attempt until either we get a crit or Trico uses Leer more often than Pound. We finally, after 12 attempts, get all the stars to align for us and we take down the Trico for 69 experience. Nice. Unfortunately, it's not high enough to level up, so we have to struggle some more. However, now that we can proceed west of town, we have access to the reason I wanted to do this run in Ruby. CDOT. They're not here at all in Sapphire, and they're only here 1% of the time in Emerald. Though in hindsight, since I had to struggle the first rival fight before I got here, I could have really just done this run in Emerald anyway. The CDOT spawn at a 20% rate here, and they don't actually have any moves that can hurt us if we're just using growls. But since we've already used up our power points, we can't actually fight them now, because they know Bide, which will knock us out, so we actually have to run from them after all. We get a struggle off on RALTS and a Wurmple and level up to level 6 to get Confusion. But we're not done with struggle yet. There's a trainer coming who has a Poochyena, so we have to struggle for him too. Once we're clear of the trainer, we could either heal at the Pokemon Center or face another mandatory fight in Petalburg Woods. Let's take the Magma Grunt out now so that we should be able to heal up and proceed on with the story. With that in mind, we stop and grab a Shroomish for Flash later, nickname her Flashelius the 19th. Long may she shine. A Zigzagoon for Cut later, nicknaming it Snipticus the 19th. Long may he cut. As well as several other Zigzagoons for Pickup. Like any utility Pokemon in my runs, I can't use them during battle, but their ability will help shave literal hours off of this run. Pickup essentially gives each of my Zigzagoons a 10% chance to pick up and hold an item anytime I knock out a Pokemon in battle. One of the items I can pick up is Rare Candy, which in Ruby and Sapphire can be picked up 10% of the time that Pickup activates. What that means is, on paper at least, that every time I knock out a Pokemon, I essentially have a 1% chance for each of my Zigzagoons to pick up a Rare Candy. He'll also pick up lots of other Super Potions, Nuggets, and proteins, so there's plenty of useful stuff here they can do. At level 19, we try our hand at Roxanne. Normally rock Pokemon are actually weak specially, but our stats are just so terrible, even at level 19 it takes a few attempts. We don't really have much strategy here since we just have to use Confusion over and over. Fortunately on our second or third attempt, I don't actually recall which, we're able to secure a critical hit on the Nose Pass and finally move past Roxanne. But our troubles aren't over yet. We have to struggle again against the goon who stole the Devon goods, so we have to burn our power points down again. After spending a bunch of time doing that, we're able to easily dispatch the Magma Grunt though. We get back the Devon goods and the old man's bird, and we head back to Petalburg to continue our adventure. After realizing the old man can be useful since he has a boat, we make our way to Dewford Town and immediately head for the fighting gym. And despite how terrible our stats are, it's an easy victory. We have the type advantage, so it's a 2-shot sweep through Brawly's team. We head for the cave and catch an errand for Strength later, nicknaming it Bicepticus the 19th. Long may he live. And then we deliver the letter to Steven in the cave and then head on to Slateport. Once we get to Slateport, I sell the 4 nuggets that my Zigzagoons have already picked up, and I buy 3 calciums from the street vendors. Because nothing says quality merchandise like buying vitamins from a tent at the beach. These will help boost my Ralts' special attack and should hopefully make things a bit easier moving forward. I decided to deliver the Devon goods to Stern, and I mistakenly believed I had to deal with more dark types, so I went into this fight with Struggle. I was actually wrong, so we were forced to use Struggle here, and it nearly cost us the match as we wind up with 1 single HP left, but we managed to finish the fight and were able to move past. Just north of town, we have our next fight with May on the way to Mauville City. We use a Calm Mind and then take down the Wailmer with 2 Confusions. We level up and learn Psychic during the fight, so we replace Confusion, and from there it's an easy way to victory. We do have to be careful because Grovyle does know the Dark-type Pursuit, but we're able to actually finish the fight and head on into town. We get to Mauville City, and it isn't until we grind up to level 33 that we're finally able to beat Watson. We're high enough to take out his Magnemite in 2 hits, but not before it paralyzes us, but we do cure it with a Cherry Berry. Next out is Voltorb, and we use the opportunity to set up a couple of Calm Minds before taking it down. Finally out is the Magneton, and we're able to take it down in 2 hits, and we can finally get past Watson. This took a lot of attempts. We get the TM for Shockwave, and we can finally hit Dark Pokemon now. We can also get access to Hidden Power and Secret Power now, so we have some options on the table. Unfortunately, and some of you may have noticed this already, I done goofed and I used Flash to replace Growl to save time on depleting power points, but now I have to wait until we get to Lily Cove City for the move deleter, since Flash is an HM. So I'm going to have to make a tough call now on which move, Calm Mind or Double Team, that I get rid of, even though I can relearn both of them later. So we have to take this moveset forward into our battle with Maxie at Mount Chimney, and at this point we actually have to use Double Team. I had honestly hoped to avoid it, and this is much earlier than I expected we would need it, but it's either use Double Team or power level way past Maxie's levels, and I honestly don't see the difference. If the end result is the same, why not save some time? Once we get some double teams in place, we use Shockwave and Psychic to plow through his team. Honestly, the double teams were necessary because Bite was just going to absolutely wreck our day. After leaving the volcano, it's time for more fire as we take on Flannery at the fire gym. and her 2 Slugmas go down to a Psychic each, and out next is her Torkoal. We do big damage with a Psychic as it hits incredibly hard with Overheat. We survive on just 2 HP from a regular hit, not even a crit, and we fire back with another Psychic to end the fight and secure our next badge. Now we get to go back to Petalburg and take on the 5th gym and our father. So after an easy sweep through all of his trainers, we make our way to Norman, and I'm instantly hit with an absolutely stunning realization that I hadn't even considered until right this moment. Our ability Trace, which up to now has not been a problem, is copying Slacking's Truant. Yeah, that's going to be a problem I hadn't considered. If he didn't lead with the damn Slacking, it wouldn't be an issue. But he does, so we're going to have to deal with it. Interesting note here that if this was Emerald, we wouldn't have this trouble since Slacking isn't his lead Pokemon there. Well, we're going to need to be a lot higher leveled. We don't have any other options either, so we're going to have to grind a lot here. We need levels badly if we're going to hang in this fight at all. So after an hour of 450% speed up grinding, we come back at level 50 and we do a lot better, but it's still not enough. We do have loads of rare candy from our pickup, so let's see if we can do this at level 60. Nope, that's still not quite enough either, but we're getting there. I use 5 more and try again at level 65. We get an amazing crit on his opening Slacking and take it down in 1 shot. I'd be curious to know if the crit was needed, as at level 61 Psychic did bring it down to red. Vigoroth is next, and we're loafing around thanks to Truant as we take a hit. Another Psychic brings down Vigoroth though. Last out is his 2nd stronger Slacking, and we tank a Facade as we bring it down to yellow health with a Psychic. At this point, between our loafing around and the hyper potions that Norman's pulling out of his butt, this takes some back and forth, but we finally do break through with another critical hit to bring down this Slacking and end the fight. Kinda fitting that we bookended our fight with critical hits to secure the win. That was rough though. We had to burn 15 of our 18 rare candies so far, but our pickup will hopefully grab us some more in addition to the few we can find normally along the way. Now that that's over, we can grab Surf and finally move forward in the game. Our first stop is the Weather Institute, and after cleaning them out, it's time for another fight against May. Of course, now we're heavily overleveled thanks to the fight with Norman, so we one-shot our way through her entire team. From there, it's on to Four Tree City and the Flying Gym, which we unsurprisingly have little issue with given that we have Shockwave. I do have the TM for Thunderbolt, but I'm going to go ahead and save it for now. Only her Altaria survives, and it actually survives several due to its dragon typing resisting electricity, but before it can do any more damage other than a Dragon Breath or 2, we take it down and secure our next win. Afterwards, we're finally able to make our way into Lily Cove City, where we can finally go to the move deleter and get this damn Flash out of our arsenal. That was a mistake finally rectified. Now that we have an open move slot, we use our TM for Secret Power. It's a 70 base power normal move that has a 30% chance to inflict different status conditions based on where we use it. Most of the time it's going to be paralysis, so I'll take it. After retrieving the red orb from Mount Pyre, we're able to progress the story a bit, so we catch a Wingull for Fly, nickname it Flapsity the 19th, Long may he fly. After some random filler material involving the Team Magma base, we're able to surf to Moss Deep and take on Tate and Liza. They're a mandatory double battle, so I go ahead and catch a Magikarp to have the least impact on the battle as possible. I also replaced Secret Power with Thief, as it will be super effective against their Psychic Pokemon. I also used some of my rare candy to try and get to a point where I can two-shot the Soul Rock. Finally, at level 82, after what was literally a dozen attempts at various levels, each time where the Lunatone successfully landed Hypnosis on its first try, we're able to thief our way past Tate and Liza. But can I just say, what in the actual hell here? Hypnosis only has a 60% accuracy. I got hit by it by the Lunatone in 12 consecutive attempts, on its first try each time. That's literally a 0.2% chance of happening. In any event, now we're extremely overleveled for the last of the gyms in Victory Road, so hopefully we won't have too much more trouble with whatever we have left. Before we can embark on that though, we stop for a Wailmer for Surf, Dive, and Waterfall, nickname it Aquades the 19th, Long may he swim, and we can finally take care of some more exciting, totally important filler. Story, which promptly culminates in us two-shotting Groudon with Psychic. Alright, well, that was kinda anticlimactic. It didn't even attack us, it just used Bulk Up. Oh well, with that out of the way, it's time for the Water Gym. And it goes about as well as you'd expect, considering we're double the levels of most of his team, and we have Shockwave. Again, I could use Thunderbolt, but I want to save that for the Elite Four, as it's going to require some move tinkering, and I only have one TM for Thunderbolt. Wishcash and Seeking actually survive their hits, but we take them down. Now that we've beaten Wallace, we can move on to the Elite Four and finally see what RALTS is really capable of. But before we do that, we get stopped by aspiring Tiny Tim Wally, who wants a fight. And actually, we aren't having much trouble until the Gardevoir, but even that one doesn't stand up to our efforts for very long. Our Thieves aren't doing a lot anymore, and we start missing a lot of our Thunderbolts thanks to Double Team, but we eventually take it down just in time as we start losing our health. Once we heal up, we're ready to make our first attempt at Elite Four, and it's not even worth talking about. Sydney's Cacturn is a brick wall, and even if we do manage to get past it, the stuff that comes after it just takes us down immediately. We need to be stronger. Let's do some housekeeping and then come back. I decide while I'm leveling to 100, because I'm definitely going to need to be max level, to go find a Sharp Beak. It's a held item that will boost the power of flying type moves by 10%. In Ruby, they're only available on Wild Doduo at a 5% chance, and Doduo can only be found in the Safari Zone at around 10% of the time. We spend a bit of time hunting them down, and we actually got super lucky when we find out later that our first Doduo we caught had a Sharp Beak held, so we're able to check that box off the list. Okay, future me note, I realize as I'm recording the script now that I never mentioned that I discovered my hidden power is flying. That's why I needed the Sharp Beak. I also decided to use Thief on some Duskull until I find a spell tag to steal and boost my Ghost type moves by 10%. I don't have a Ghost move yet, but we do plan to use Shadow Ball later, and this might be useful. Since we're hunting down held items, I also decided at this point to go get a Twisted Spoon to boost my Psychic moves by 10%. They're on Wild Abra at a 5% rate, same as those other two items. So this should be easy enough, right? No, you'd be wrong. In Pokemon Ruby, Abra can only be found back in Granite Cave at a 10% encounter rate. That in and of itself is annoying, but not bad, just tedious. Same thing with the 5% encounter rate for the Twisted Spoon. Annoying and tedious, but not impossible. But I spend literally nearly 2 full hours in Granite Cave, at a 450% speed up mind you, looking for Abra. I actually encountered over 60 of them in my entire search, and between catching them and using Thief on them, I never get a spoon. None. There were no Twisted Spoons on those 60 Abra. 5% should be 1 in 20, so I should have found at least 1, but the statistics say I should have found 3. Is Bulbapedia wrong here? Is my game broke? Why did none of those Abra have a Twisted Spoon? However, all of this hunting in the cave was not for naught though, as about halfway through I actually encountered a legitimate shiny Makuhita. That is unreal. This actually made me really excited because it is my first ever shiny Pokemon that I have ever encountered. Aside from the mandatory Red Gyarados encounters in Gen 2. I actually couldn't believe it. Shinies are super rare. In fact, in Generation 3, they work out to about a 1 in 8,192 chance. We actually found a 1 in 8,192 spawn, or a 0.1% encounter rate, before we found an Abra where 5% of them are supposed to have a spoon? What is with this game? In any event, now we can finally have our running shiny counter on the channel, and that's our first. We nicknamed the Makuhita Glamorious the First. Long may he gleam. And after spending the aforementioned 2 hours of searching, we finally just give up. I just don't get it. My luck cannot be that bad. I just found a shiny Makuhita for God's sakes. Something's gotta be glitched. I refuse to accept that none of the Abras had spoons. And yes, I made sure that RALTS was not holding anything while doing this, so Thief should have worked if it had one. One advantage to all this thiefing though is that my Zigzagoons have now had enough rare candy picked up to get me to level 100. So let's do that and try the Elite Four once again. Dark Trainer Sydney is first, and we're weak to Dark, so we have to be careful. His Mightyena chunks our attack with Intimidate, but goes down to a Thunderbolt. Cacturn is next, and a boosted Hidden Power brings it below half as it chunks our speed with Cotton Spore, but we finish it with another flying Hidden Power. Sharpedo is next and hits hard with Crunch, but goes down to Thunderbolt. Next out is an Absol, which uses Swords Dance to boost its attack, but goes down into Thunderbolt. Last out is Shiftry, which flinches us with Fake Out and sets up a double team as we nail the super lucky critical hit to take it out. Boy, that was lucky, but you know I'm gonna take it. We heal up, equip our spell tag to boost Shadow Ball, and move on to Phoebe the Ghost Trainer. We start off against Phoebe with Shadow Ball, but even though it's super effective, it's just not enough for a one-shot. Our attack stat is just so bad, and Ghost moves are still physical in Gen 3. I ultimately decide to swap to Psychic, and at that point I can just plow through the rest of her team. We do have to swap back to Shadow Ball for her Sableye because it's part dark, but we get a special drop and then hit it with Thunderbolt for the end. After beating Phoebe, we heal up and head to Glacia, the Ice Water Trainer. Her Glalie is a pure Ice type and survives a Psychic to set up a Hail for passive damage each turn. From there, we're able to dispatch it with a 1-2 punch of Psychic and Hidden Power. Her second Glalie is out next and gets off a Crunch for big damage but goes down to the same combo. From there, her last 3 Pokemon are all part water and each go down to a single Thunderbolt. Her final Wall Rain was a lucky crit, but we still probably would have been able to one-shot it regardless. If not, it would have at least been a 2-shot. In any event, now that we've beaten Glacia, we heal up once again and head on into Drake the Dragon Master. Drake the Dragon Master is next, and in the absence of a good ice move, or actually any ice move for that matter, we have to make do with what we have at our disposal. At this point, I replace Hidden Power with Calm Mind again. A flying move won't be very useful for what we have left to face, but a boost to our special attack and defense most definitely will. His Shelgon is up first and usually cooperates with us by using Protect, which allows us to set up, but this time it actually doesn't. And while we're setting up our Calm Minds, it keeps going for Rock Tomb to chunk our speed. But once we have our 2 special attack buffs in place, it's not really a difficult challenge against him at all. His Flygon gets off a Crunch before going down, and it does lower our special defense, and Salamence comes out and gets off a Flamethrower, which we surprisingly tank rather well despite the special drop. as his Altaria goes down to 1 Thunderbolt and his final Flygon goes down after just setting up a Sandstorm. But now this is our final test. Can we beat Champion Steven? And I'm dubious. I'm gonna try without Double Team, but I do have the TM for it if we need it. Let's give it a go. Last chance to make your guesses down below. Skarmory is out first and it knows Toxic, so I've gone ahead and equipped a Pecha Berry to give me an extra turn as it will heal the poison. We outspeed it and set up a Calm Mind as it goes for spikes. Free turn for us. We set up a second as it goes for a Steel Wing for weak damage. We go for a third Calm Mind and it hits another Steel Wing. We go for our fourth Calm Mind as it finally Toxics us, which we heal. Now we're out of tricks though, so we have to go on the attack with a Thunderbolt. Skarmory goes down in 1 hit, and out next is the Cradily, and it goes down to a single Psychic. Claydol is next, and our best option is Shadow Ball, which brings it down over half as it hits Earthquake. Another Shadow Ball brings it down. Our health's not looking good though, and out next is Agaron. Fortunately, we get a crit Psychic to bring it down to 1 hit, but based on some previous attempts, I actually don't think the crit was needed. Armaldo is next, and I decide to get a little cheeky since I know that Metagross is still to come, and I go for a 5th Calm Mind as it hits back hard with Ancient Power, bringing us down to 1 HP. Well, that nearly blew up in our face. We hit it back with another Psychic though to bring it down. Last out is his Metagross, and I honestly don't think we have a chance. We have 1 HP and it's a RALTS against Metagross. I go for a Hail Mary Thunderbolt, and by the grace of Algoris, we get a 1-shot. Not even a crit either, a legitimate 1-shot Thunderbolt on a Metagross, and it brings it down for the end. And that's it. We've beaten the champion Steven and we get RALTS into the Hall of Fame. So there you go guys, we've beaten Pokemon Ruby with just RALTS. I admittedly could have probably done this run in Emerald as well, but my plans for Struggle early on dictated that Ruby would be the best option, even though it ultimately didn't pan out the way I thought it would. In any event, there you go guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Not sure what next week will bring, but I may go for an easy Kanto one just to recharge, but I'm not sure. Feel free to leave your suggestions down below, and again, join the Bard Breaker Discord server and hang out with me and some other people in the audience. As always guys, thank you again so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and until next time, go catch 'em all.